So we're going to read chapter 11, but let's remind ourselves what happened in chapter 10. So Abbas went to go get more money at the market where his friend Hector is, the one from the jewelry shop. He gave him a good rate and offered him a job to take a package, to a laundrette where people do laundry. He goes inside and this big ugly man takes the parcel and gives him the money. As Abbas is leaving, he walks straight into someone because he's so busy thinking about if someone was following him, he didn't see the guy. Now this man was so angry when Abbas walked into him, he picked him up, he slapped him on the face, and he spits on his head. And Abbas feels so embarrassed and sad because nobody helped him. He went back to the hotel and Murat, the guy who owns it in the reception, was really nice to him. Abbas didn't talk to his parents that night and went to bed feeling very sad. Chapter 11, page 171. The next 2 days were dark. As hard as I tried to forget the memory of the slap on the face, it would not leave me. To add to that, my parents had not called me for 3 days in a row. I know I could have called them, but I did not want to anger my father by spending the money. I had left the hotel only once since that afternoon to buy some bread, cheese, yogurt, and water. I thought I deserved a little cheese, considering my new earnings, how much money I was making. I had played 3 games of backgammon and maintained my 100% victory record. Murat's bets were no longer as high as they had been earlier, less money, and that took the pressure off me. I continued to serve tea with considerable success, getting tips, propinas. It was the one activity that took my mind off my problems. I now had a second nickname. Due to my slightly bruised face from the attack, some of the hotel guests had begun to call me Rocky. Very quickly, Rocky is a really famous movie about a boxer, a character from a movie, and he's strong and he fights against all of the problems he has. So people are now calling him Rocky. I have to say that I was quite partial to that name. Rocky was my hero. That movie was one of the first American films I had ever seen. Page 172. Most of the pirated movies, illegal movies that they download, that came from Iran were from Bollywood. But occasionally the major Hollywood hits also sneak through. Bollywood is like the Indian version, the country India. And it's mostly Bollywood, so Indian actors. So he's not used to seeing American films, but his favorite American film is Rocky. And so he's really happy that people call him Rocky, because he looks like a fighter after he got slapped in the face. When I woke up the following day, I made my way straight to the kitchen for some tea. Murat was up and looking unusually bright. He was dressed neatly, nicely, and had even bothered to apply aftershave, cologne, perfume. He strolled in with a smile. "Little man, I have some good news for you." "A raise? More money?" "Good try, but no," he said with his cheeky smile. "Then what?" "Someone has a letter today." "Who? Me?" "Yes, you," he keeped. Where? I asked enthusiastically, excitedly. "On my desk," he said, following me. I was already halfway there. I could see the red express stamp on the airmail envelope. I ripped it open to find the documents I had asked for, all held together with a paperclip. On top was a letter from my mother. "Your documents?" Murat asked. "Uh-huh," I said, half ignoring him as I took the letter and the papers to my little corner in the lobby. I was almost too scared to read the letter. It had been so long since I heard from my mother. This was the closest I had been to her since my departure. The fact that she had written the letter with her own hand, the fact that I recognized the paper as the kind she always wrote on, and best of all, the fact that the letter still smelled of her perfume made me happy. Really happy. I began to read. "My darling Abbas, how are you, Azizam? You cannot imagine how much I miss you, my boy. The house does not feel the same. I keep feeling that you are here or thinking that I can see you. I even think that I can hear you some afternoons playing with your friends outside. I go out to see Sarouche, Farad, Paima, and the rest of them, your friends, playing soccer. I look for you, but I can't find you. My life is not the same without you. I am sorry that I cannot speak to you on the phone, but your father does not think it is good for either of us at the moment. However, he has promised me that we will talk soon. You do not know how proud I am of you, Abbas. You were my little boy only a few days ago, and now you are a man on your own. No one else could do what you are doing, my boy, but you can because you are special. I cannot imagine how hard it must be for you. Just be strong a little longer. Pray to God and you will see that he will answer you. I pray for you every night, Abbas, just as I taught you to do. I will not tell you all the things that you have to do, because I know you are doing them already. I know, my boy. I am more sorry that I had to let you go at the airport than I am about anything else in my life. I am trying my hardest to join you, my child. If you are ever sad and think that life is hard, remember that you are not alone, that I am thinking, page 174, that I am thinking of you. Whatever happens, remember that I am really proud of you. I love you more than anything else in this world. Your mother, Mazea. P.S. Mama June sends her love and says that she misses you dearly. I must have read that letter 10 times. In Iran, I had always been embarrassed when my mother showed me affection or kissed me. But now I would have done anything to see her and tell her I loved her. I was so happy and sad at the same time. To read that someone was proud of me put a real smile on my face. And at the same time I wanted to cry because I missed my mother more than anything in the world. Murat could see that I was in an emotional state. To his credit, he stayed in his seat and he let me get on with it. I still had plenty of time to get to the consulate, but first I had to get changed into something smart, more formal. I returned to my room and dug out all of my clothes, only to realize I was nearly out of clean clothes. I would have to do some washing soon, but I managed to put a respectable outfit together in a hurry. I was tired of carrying all my money on me everywhere I went. I needed to find somewhere safe for it. The cleaning girl was young and looked trustworthy, but I had to check for myself. So I left a $50 note in plain sight where she could see it on my bedside cabinet table and pinned another to the bottom of my mattress. I might lose $100 this way, which was a lot of money, but it was better to lose $100 than 1,000. I wanted to see if I could trust the cleaner, so he's leaving money out on purpose to see if she steals it. I walked downstairs past a few guests who greeted me with their usual, "Hey there, Rocky," or, "Isn't it a shame for a boy to be on his own?" Some people thought that just because I was young, I was also deaf and I couldn't hear them. It had stopped bothering me. The advantages that it brought far outweighed the disadvantages. As soon as Murat saw me, he knew I was going out. "When will you be back?" he called. "I don't know," I replied. "I'm going to the consulate." "Why?" "Well, I wanted to know if you would be here for some tea and—" "Have you got a match lined up?" I asked, guessing where this was going. "Well, kind of," he responded, "but it's not definite. I should be back by the evening for sure." I was at the door when Murat called back. "Little man?" "Yeah?" "Good luck." Outside, I was of two minds about whether to keep my head down or to look ahead. If I did the latter, I thought I might make myself more of a target, someone could rob me. So I tried to settle for a compromise between the two. I think I must have looked mighty silly with my head going up and down like a yo-yo. Remember, he's trying to look ahead of him, but at the same time, make sure no one tries to rob him or steal his stuff. Once on the, page 176, once on the main road, I noticed my heart was beating faster. As I walked past the spot where I had been attacked, I gritted my teeth and decided that the best way to deal with this was to walk briskly fast. I made it to the bus stop without getting into trouble. It put me in a good mood. I was convinced there would be a major breakthrough at the consulate today, so some good news. Because I had my papers, I was sure that they would give me a visa to travel to England straight away, instantly. I waited for the bus for about 20 minutes. I was getting quite impatient when I noticed a lady next to me, a Persian, so someone from his area. She could not have been more than 25 years old, and she was very beautiful, with long, thick black hair and deep brown eyes. She looked at me but clearly thought twice about talking to me. Curiosity must have finally gotten the best of her, though for a few minutes she spoke. "Excuse me," she asked politely in a nice, delicate voice. "Me?" I asked, pointing to myself, though I knew she was talking to me, as she was speaking Farsi, and besides, there was no one else here. "Yes," she said with an elegant smile. Are you Persian?" "Yes." "Oh, good," she relieved. "I'm here alone, and it's good to see another Persian." "I know what you mean." "Where is your mother?" "In Tehran." "Oh," she said. "So you're here with your father?" "No, I'm alone." She hesitated. She thought she had misunderstood and not understood correctly. "Sorry?" "Oh, it's okay," I said like I'm a seasoned professional, so Abbas is used to this. "I am alone without my parents, and I'm fine, honest." She smiled, thinking I was pulling her leg, joking with her. "Really?" I said. "I'm going to the British consulate. I'm waiting for the bus." "Oh, thank God," she said with a huge sigh of relief. "So this is the right stop for the British Embassy?" "Actually, it's the consulate," I said. "Oh, right," she said. Surprised I would know the difference. "Yes, that's what I meant." "It's fine," I said, trying to reassure her. I made the same mistake. There was a pause. "So does the bus stop outside the embassy?" She saw me look at her. I mean consulate." "Yes," I said. "But listen, do you speak English?" "I do. Well, a little, anyway." "Okay," I said to her with my cheeky smile. "I'll make you a deal." "What?" "I'll take you to the consulate and show you how it all works if you translate for me when we get there." "I don't see why not," she said. "So you know how to get a bus ticket and everything?" "I do," I declared in my know-it-all manner. "Do you have 100 lira note?" "I think so." Page 178. "Then you don't need a ticket," I informed her. "Just put the money in the machine, and it works like a ticket." "It does?" "Yep." She was suitably impressed with my knowledge. "What's your name?" "Abbas, but some people call me Rocky or Little Man." "They do," she said, smiling. "Well, I'll call you Abbas. I'm Tarine." The bus came soon after, and we sat together and chatted all the way. I told Tarine about my situation because she was going to find out anyway while interpreting for me. Then she told me about hers. The poor lady had left Iran to try for a British visa so that she could escape the regime and live with her aunt in London, similar to Abbas. She desperately wanted a visa because otherwise her family would force her to marry a Persian man another aunt had found for her. She told me that she did not love him and it would not be right. She looked so sad that I felt really sorry for her. I was realizing that every person in Istanbul had a story. As we approached the consulate gates, I noticed that one of the armed guards from my previous visit was there. It was clear he recognized me, so I walked ahead of Tarine, who was digging in her handbag for her papers. I didn't even have to show him my passport. The guard let me in with a wave. I waited for Tarine inside the consulate gate. "Do you know them?" she asked as she joined me. "Kind of," I said. "We met on my last visit." I kept it short because I did not want her to know that I had to cry like a baby to be allowed in. We walked silently up the magnificent drive towards the consulate door. Tarine was trying to absorb it all, just as I had on my first visit. As we entered, we separated into the lines, one for men and one for women. Judging and looking at my ticket number, it seemed like I had an hour to wait. I looked along the cubicles, and sure enough, the serious-looking interviewer from my previous visit was there at his usual counter. He noticed me and gave me a little nod. I realized that even this little gesture must be unusual for him. Eventually, Tarine came through and sat next to me. "They certainly search you properly, don't they?" I nodded and asked, "What's your number?" She showed me her ticket. "I think you're about 25 minutes after me," I said. "Will that be enough time for your interview?" "I don't know," I said, suddenly feeling a little uneasy. "I hope so. If not, then you can go and have your own interview." "Okay." We sat together for about 40 minutes and talked about anything and everything. I was quite surprised at the things she told me, even about her boyfriend back in Shiraz in Iran, who she had almost married, but then he ran off with another woman. I was beginning to realize that marriage in Iran was a complicated business. Page 180. Eventually, the number before mine flashed on the screen. I was next. We waited for about 5 minutes, and then the number after mine flashed. It skipped my number. What should I do? I jumped up to go check, but my serious-looking friend started waving to me from his cubicle, telling me, gesturing me to sit down. "What's happening?" Tarine asked in a hushed voice. "I think the man over there wants to see me," I said, pointing to him, the same guy that helped him last time. A few minutes later, my number flashed, and when I looked over, I saw my friend's counter was vacant, was empty. Tarine and I walked over to it, and the man smiled at me. "You're back, I see," he said to me as Tarine began translating. "I have brought the documents you asked for," I said to the man and Tarine simultaneously at the same time. The man nodded and then looked and examined my papers. After about 5 minutes of inspection, he looked back up. "Good," he said. "You've brought everything I asked for." "Does that mean I can have my visa now?" Tarina looked at me in a funny way. Then, as she translated, the man began to laugh. "What's so funny?" I asked, a little put out, annoyed. "It's not quite that simple," the man said, still laughing. "Come back between 2 and 3 o'clock in exactly 10 days. It is important you come at the time I have asked you to." Once Tarine had translated his instructions, I looked up at the man. "Thank you," I said in English. My over-optimism happiness had revealed my immaturity, and I felt a little stupid, especially after the way I had tried to show myself to Tarine as someone who knew how to navigate and understand the process of the consulate. I learned something that day. The man kept my papers, shook my hand, and that was the end of my consulate visit. Tarine still had to wait. "I'll stay and we can go back together if you like," I offered. "Are you sure?" "Yes." "Thank you," she said, smiling. When she came back from her own interview, we walked out of the building without speaking. Once we were on the drive outside, I looked up to her. "How did it go?" "At that moment," she said with sad eyes, "it looks like I'm going to be marrying the guy my family wants me to marry." "Why? What happened?" "God knows," she sighed. "They want 1,000,000 different papers." "They did for me too," I explained. "That's normal, I think." We chatted and talked a little on the bus, but it was obvious that her mind was somewhere else. We got off by the marketplace. As we were waiting to cross the road, Tarina took my hand. When we reached the other side, there was an awkward silence. "So then, Abbas," she said with a forced smile, "I guess this is it." Page 182. "Yeah. Will you be okay?" "I have been so far," I murmured. "Will you be all right?" "I think so," she said, "though I have a few things to learn about this place, and you won't be around to show me." I wanted to tell her where my hotel was and say that I would be glad to help her again, but even though my instincts were telling me good things about Tarine, I knew I needed to be careful and cautious. "It's not all that hard," I told her. "You will be fine." She leaned over and kissed my cheeks. Then she spent a few seconds wiping her kisses off. I turned very red. "Good luck with everything, Terine," I whispered. "To you too, Abbas," she sighed. "To you too." She turned and was about to walk away when I called after her. "Terine?" "Yes," she smiled as she turned. "I hope you don't have to marry that man." She patted and touched my cheek without saying anything and then left. I watched her disappear into the crowd. I was close to Hector's shop and decided to go in and see him. He came through the back door and gave me a huge smile. "Abbas, my friend," he said. "Great job the other day." "Thanks," I muttered. Before I knew it, Hector was hugging me and kissing me on each cheek. It made me feel uncomfortable. "1 minute," he said as he ran out back. I sat on the little chair stool in his shop and waited. Hector returned with a bottle of cold Fanta and offered it to me. "Thank you," I said, downing it in a few gulps. I was thirsty after my day at the consulate. Hector watched me, smiling and grinning the whole time. "I see you were thirsty, my friend." "Yes," I said, catching my breath. "I haven't had anything to drink the whole day." There was a pause as I decided on the best way to approach the subject. "Hector?" "Yes?" "I was just wondering," I said, "when my next delivery will be." "Ah," he said, "I should think in about 3 days." "Okay, I will be back in 3 days then." "Great. Thank you for the Fanta." "My pleasure," he said, smiling. "Oh, by the way, do you want me to swap your $10 note?" I stuttered. No, thanks. It's at home, and I didn't know I was coming here today. I will bring it when I come next time." "As you wish." "Thank you, though." He waved me off. I actually did have the $10 note, page 184, with me, but all my money was together in one big wad, and I did not want Hector to see everything. On the way back to the hotel, I started to worry about the other money I had left in my room. I began to kick myself. If the money was gone, I would never, ever be able to tell my father. Entering the hotel, I saw Murat on the phone. He tried to stop me, but I ran past and up to my room. The $50 note was on the bedside table right where I had left it, now with the room's ashtray on top of it to stop it from flying away. Imagine my happiness. And sure enough, the other note was still pinned to the bottom of the mattress too. I sat on my bed, smiling to myself, and thought about getting some provisions, some food. As I was about to leave, I had second thoughts. If the money was still there, did that mean that the room was safe, or were they trying to trick me into leaving more money behind? I decided to play on. I hid a note under the insole of one of the pairs of sneakers I had left in the cupboard, so he hid some money in his shoe. Then I decided to use a trick I had seen in a Bollywood film in a movie, using some blue tack adhesive. So gluing, basically some glue, I stuck $200 bills to the top of the drawers inside the table, so the drawer itself would look empty if someone opened it. Also, there was only a slight gap, barely big enough for my hands, between the bottom of the cupboard and the floor. The cupboard was really heavy, and I blue tacked 2 more bills in the bottom of the cupboard, as far back as I could reach. So he's kind of moving his money in his room and hiding it in different places. Right then and there, I decided that it was stupid to carry all my money in one pocket. I split the rest of the money and put just 100 in my trouser pockets, then divided the rest between my underpants and my socks. Then I went to get something to eat. On my way back from the corner shop, I saw a small boy with a portable shoe shine kit. I had seen so many children in the marketplace with this. They charged 100 lira to shine a pair of shoes, to clean shoes, and they sat on little stools, usually against a wall, with their boxes in front of them. So it's like a small box where you put your foot and they clean your shoe. There was a foothold on their toolbox where the customers rested their feet while the children cleaned their shoes. This gave me an idea, but I decided to keep it to myself for this moment. I ate the food in my room, And lonely though it was nothing like it had been earlier. I still looked at my family pictures and I missed them all. But it was gradually beginning to sink in, and I would understand that I would not see them for a long time, so he feels less sad. After dinner, I went downstairs and got to work on the tea in the bar. I was getting quite familiar with all the liquors. I only really got confused with mixers for drinks, but only Westerners, so people from America, would order them. And there were only a handful of them staying there. These would be the less affluent businessmen who could not afford nice hotels where the other Westerners, white people, would stay. They had fancy names for their drinks, which entailed putting lemonade or Coca-Cola in with their alcohol. I didn't like these guys so much because they were stingy with their tips. They never gave good tips. The few English people I had met in Istanbul paid 186, had not made a great impression on me, and I could not help but judge the whole country by them. I was behind the bar when Murat came in and gestured that I had a phone call. I ran to my usual booth and took a deep breath, praying that I would hear my mother's voice. "Hello?" "Abbas?" My father's voice echoed down the crackling line. "Oh," I sighed. "Hi. How are you?" "Is Maman there?" "She's asleep." "When can I speak to her?" I asked. "I promise not to upset her, Baba." "I know, my son," he said. "I promise you, I have never broken a promise to you, right?" After a brief pause, I said, "Right." "Well, I promise," he went on, "that the next time I call, you will speak to her." "All right." "So how are you?" "I'm okay," I said. "I got the documents this morning." "You did?" he exclaimed. "I was going to ask." "Yeah, they came all intact, and I got the letter from Maman." "Good. Thank her for me, please." "She says thanks too. She got 2 letters from you today." Immediately I felt better. I had been wondering if they had gotten there yet. "This is what I want you to do, Abbas," my father went on in a serious tone. "Tomorrow, I want you to go back to the consulate with all the documents and—" "Baba?" I tried to cut in. "Go with the documents and—" He spoke louder over my words. "Baba!" I said even more loudly. "What is it?" he snapped. "I'm trying to tell you what to do." "Well, it's just that I have already been to the consulate." "I know, but you have to go again with the documents." "I have." "When?" "Today." "How could you have?" he asked. "You said that you got them today." "I did," I declared. "This morning I went there immediately." "You did what?" he asked. "Why didn't you wait for me to tell you what to do?" "Because I knew what to do," I said quietly. I was afraid that he was going to shout again. "The man at the consulate had said that I should go back when I had the documents." "That's true, but you should have waited for me to call in case I had some instructions for you." "I know, Baba," I said. "But you had not called for several," page 188, "but you had not called for several days, and I didn't know when you would, and I just wanted to get this done quickly, so I can get out of this." I paused. "This what?" he asked in a hushed tone. I didn't answer the question, and a silence filled the air as my father considered his next question. "This what, Abbas?" "Nothing, Baba," I said. "It's just that I don't know how long my money will last, so I try to get things done quicker." He could not argue with that. "It's okay, Abs," he said. "You did what you thought was best. No, you did well, actually. You took the initiative, and that is great, Abbas." "Thank you," I said, half smiling. I don't know if my father had suddenly remembered that I was only 9 years old, or if he actually believed I had done well. "So, what happened?" "Well," I said enthusiastically, "I saw the same man and he was pleased that I had all the papers he had asked for." "He was?" "I think so," I went on. "And he told me that I should go back in exactly 10 days between 2 and 3 o'clock. What does that mean, Baba?" "I don't know, son," he said, "but let us hope it means something good. I will call you again before you go back to the consulate." "When, Baba?" "I don't know, Abbas, but soon," he muttered. "Now, You only go out when you have to. I know. Goodbye then, Abs. You won't forget your promise, will you? No, son, I won't. Thank you. Okay, Baba. Goodbye. That conversation had been the best I had had with my father since I arrived in Istanbul. It was also the first one I had had without crying. That really put me in a good mood for the rest of the evening, which I spent serving drinks. That night, I slept with the lights on as usual, looking at my family photographs, but inside I was feeling better. Thoughts of that man hitting me popped into my head once in a while. But it didn't get me down as it had earlier. A few nice and warm words from my father had made such a difference. That's the end of chapter 11. So Abbas went to the consulate. He met a very nice young girl who he helped, and then she helped him. He has to go back to the consulate in 10 days, and finally his father called him and was really nice to him. So at the end of this chapter, he's feeling